Imagine turning on your TV and seeing something strangely familiar. Characters, plots, even jokes that felt like déjà vu. In the golden age of cartoons, not every idea was original. Some shows boldly copied the giants of animation, hoping to ride their success. But many were doomed, exposed, or forgotten. Today, we'll uncover 20 cartoons that shamelessly ripped off more popular shows and the strange legacies they left behind. Gobots, Battle of the Rock Lords, 1986. Before Transformers conquered toy aisles and TV screens, Gobots tried to seize the throne. Marketed as the friendly transforming robots, the show was seen by many as a watered-down imitation. Its characters mirrored the heroic Autobots and villainous Decepticons, but lacked the same charisma and lore. The movie Gobots, Battle of the Rock Lords was the franchise's desperate attempt to outshine Transformers. The movie? Instead, critics panned it for poor animation and uninspired writing. Fans knew it was chasing shadows. Rumors swirled that Tonka, the toy company behind it, pressured animators to rush production, fearing they'd lose the market war. Though children enjoyed the toys, the series never reached the cultural depth of Transformers. Over time, Gobots became a nostalgic punchline, mocked as the discount robots of the 80s. In hindsight, its failure reminds us how imitation can never match genuine creativity, and how quickly audiences spot a copycat. The New Adventures of Gilligan, 1974. Hanna-Barbera had mastered the art of cloning, and in the 70s, they turned Gilligan's Island into a cartoon. The problem? It was almost identical to the live-action show, only cheaper, lazier, and painfully repetitive. The plot mirrored the original. Gilligan bungling survival attempts while stranded castaways groaned. But without the charm of live actors, audiences quickly realized it was a hollow reflection. Even Sherwood Schwartz, creator of the original series, struggled to defend it. Behind the scenes, insiders revealed ABC demanded the show to cash in on rerun popularity. Animators recycled jokes and backgrounds, cutting costs while stretching stories thinner than ever. The public backlash was swift. Critics labeled it one of Hanna-Barbera's most shameless efforts. The cartoon limped along for 2 seasons before vanishing. Today, it's remembered less for entertainment and more as a warning of how networks squeezed familiar brands until they lost their soul. Hammerman, 1991. In the early 90s, MC Hammer was everywhere. His music, his pants, even his dance moves became pop culture staples. So ABC tried to turn him into a Saturday morning hero. The result? Hammerman. The premise: a mild-mannered youth center worker finds magical shoes that transform him into Hammerman, defender of the community. If that sounds suspiciously like Captain Planet meets Superman, you're not wrong. The animation was stiff, the writing flat, and the plots often recycled. Saturday morning cliches. Critics mocked it mercilessly, calling it a desperate attempt to clone superhero cartoons while cashing in on Hammer's fame. Parents saw through the shallow lesson of the week format, while kids gravitated to shows with real energy like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The show was canceled after just 1 season, remembered mostly for its bizarre attempt to shoehorn a rap star into a superhero mold. Its legacy? Proof that copycatting trends, whether in music or cartoons, can collapse faster than a beat drop. The Funky Phantom, 1971. If you've ever thought the Funky Phantom looked eerily like Scooby-Doo, where are you? You're not alone. Produced by Hanna-Barbera's competitor, Filmation, the series featured a group of teens, a ghostly sidekick, and endless mystery-solving adventures. Sound familiar? The only twist, instead of a talking dog, they had Jonathan Wellington, Muddsy, Muddlemore, a Revolutionary War ghost who sounded suspiciously like Snagglepuss. Viewers immediately labeled it a Scooby clone, stripped of originality. Behind the scenes, industry whispers claimed Filmation rushed the show into production after Scooby's breakout success. Animators reused character archetypes, chase gags, and even catchphrases. Kids watched, but critics called it blatant plagiarism. The show lasted just one season, vanishing into rerun obscurity. Unlike Scooby-Doo, it failed to spawn movies, spin-offs, or cult fandom. The Funky Phantom's fate stands as proof that when you try to copy a cultural juggernaut, you usually end up as a forgotten shadow. Turbo Teen, 1984. At first glance, Turbo Teen looked like it wanted to surf the same cultural wave as Knight Rider. Both featured teens, cars, and high-speed adventures. But while Knight Rider gave us a slick talking car, Turbo Teen delivered something much stranger, a boy who literally turned into a sports car whenever he touched heat. The premise was bizarre enough, but the structure felt like an awkward clone. Each episode followed a predictable problem, transformation, car chase, resolution formula. The supporting cast, a plucky girl and strong sidekick, mirrored the Saturday morning cartoon archetypes, but without memorable personality. Behind the scenes, whispers suggested Hanna-Barbera greenlit the show to capitalize on Knight Rider's success while targeting kids who weren't staying up for prime time. Critics hammered it as derivative and unintentionally comedic. The transformation sequences, often mocked as nightmare fuel, didn't help its reputation. Kids tuned in for the novelty, but the series collapsed after 13 episodes. Unlike Knight Rider, it never found a cult revival, and today it survives mostly in internet parodies and YouTube worst cartoon lists. In retrospect, Turbo Teen stands as one of animation's most awkward rip-offs, a reminder that chasing trends often produces the strangest failures. The Snorks, 1984. When the Smurfs dominated Saturday mornings, Hanna-Barbera asked, "What if we just copied the idea but set it underwater?" Enter the Snorks. The premise was nearly identical. Tiny, colorful creatures living in a whimsical community, speaking in their own jargon, and embarking on safe adventures for kids. Only this time, they had snorkel-like tubes on their heads and lived beneath the sea. Audiences spotted the similarities immediately. Critics derided it as Smurfs with gills, and fans of the original felt insulted by the lack of originality. Rumors spread that Hanna-Barbera rushed the Snorks into production purely to squeeze more merchandising dollars out of the formula before the Smurf craze fizzled. Behind the scenes, animators reportedly faced pressure to recycle background art and music, cutting corners to keep costs down. The result was a show that looked, sounded, and felt like a pale shadow of its older sibling. Despite all this, the Snorks managed to survive 4 seasons, supported largely by international markets. Yet it never carved out the cultural foothold of the Smurfs. Today, it's remembered as one of the most blatant rip-offs of the 1980s, a copy that never outshined its inspiration. Pole Position, 1984. By the mid-'80s, car chases and futuristic gadgets were all the rage, thanks to shows like Knight Rider and Speed Racer. Hanna-Barbera decided to combine the two into Pole Position, a cartoon that seemed more like a mashup of hits than a fresh concept. The show followed 2 siblings who used high-tech talking cars to fight crime while moonlighting as stunt drivers. If that sounds familiar, it's because audiences immediately saw it as Knight Rider with a team upgrade and a dash of Speed Racer's daredevil energy. Behind the glossy veneer, production struggles plagued the series. Rumors claimed the writing staff clashed with CBS over whether it should be a racing show for kids or a crime-fighting adventure. The result was a confused blend that never committed to either identity. Critics panned the thin plots, and ratings sank quickly. Though the animation was decent, the characters lacked depth, and the stories often felt like recycled Saturday morning filler. After a single season, Pole Position was canceled, leaving behind a faint trail of nostalgia among die-hard collectors. Unlike its inspirations, it never built a franchise. Instead, it's remembered as a short-lived attempt to chase trends that were already leaving the station. Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels, 1977. Scooby-Doo was such a monster hit that Hanna-Barbera spent years trying to clone it. One of the most obvious attempts was Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels. Swap Scooby for a bumbling caveman, thawed from ice, and you essentially had the same formula. The show featured 3 mystery-solving teens, endless chase scenes, and a clumsy sidekick who provided comic relief. Sound familiar? Kids noticed, and so did critics. While Scooby-Doo felt fresh, Captain Caveman seemed like a shameless reskin of the idea. Insiders whispered that Hanna-Barbera executives openly admitted the show was designed as a Scooby clone, but with the prehistoric twist to differentiate it just enough. Even the laugh track mirrored Scooby's rhythm, as if audiences needed reminding when to chuckle. Despite the criticism, Captain Caveman lasted 3 seasons, carried by Scooby's momentum and Hanna-Barbera's Saturday morning dominance. But unlike Scooby-Doo, it never transcended its era. No spin-offs, no major reboots, just occasional cameos in later Hanna-Barbera projects. Its legacy? Proof that when studios copy themselves too blatantly, audiences can sense the recycling, even if kids still tuned in on sleepy Saturday mornings. Denver, The Last Dinosaur, 1988. At first, Denver, The Last Dinosaur looked original, an upbeat show about kids discovering a prehistoric creature who loved skateboards and rock music. But when you peel back the layers, it was essentially a knockoff of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Both featured strange creatures who hung out with human kids, spoke in slangy catchphrases, and fought off cartoonish villains. Denver's radical dude personality was so similar to Michelangelo from TMNT that many accused the show of copying the Turtles' laid-back surfer attitude. Behind the scenes, DIC Entertainment allegedly rushed Denver into production after Ninja Turtles exploded in popularity, hoping to ride the merchandising wave. Toy lines, lunchboxes, and even a music album tried to replicate the Turtle mania. But unlike TMNT, Denver lacked action and leaned heavily into after-school special morals, making it less exciting for kids craving ninja battles. While it had a short-lived cult following, critics noted its awkward balance between comedy, music, and dinosaur education. Ratings dipped, and by the early 90s, Denver had vanished from mainstream pop culture. Today, it resurfaces only as nostalgic trivia, a reminder of how studios scrambled to replicate the magic of the Turtles, but rarely captured the same lightning in a bottle. BraveStarr, 1987. BraveStarr sounded ambitious, a futuristic Western about a Native American lawman on the planet New Texas. Yet beneath the shiny sci-fi veneer, it often felt like a blatant attempt to replicate the Masters of the Universe model. Filmation, the same studio behind He-Man, pushed BraveStarr with the same merchandising-first approach. Action figures, vehicles, and playsets hit shelves before the cartoon even premiered. The show's hero wielded mystical animal powers, not unlike He-Man's magical strength. The villains, mutant outlaws led by Tex Hex, were clear echoes of Skeletor and his minions. Behind the scenes, toy executives allegedly dictated storylines, insisting episodes be written around playset features. Animators grumbled, and critics panned the heavy-handed moral lessons tacked onto every adventure. Even the character design, with bulky heroes and flamboyant villains, screamed He-Man with cowboy hats. Though it gained some loyal fans, the franchise collapsed quickly when toy sales lagged. By the early 90s, BraveStarr was a forgotten relic, remembered more for its failed toys than its storytelling. Its fate shows the risk of copying your own formula too closely. Audiences can tell when imagination takes a back seat to imitation. Rubik, The Amazing Cube, 1983. If you thought a cartoon based on a toy was odd, Rubik, The Amazing Cube pushed absurdity to the limit. Created at the height of the Rubik's Cube craze, the show featured a group of kids teaming up with a magical talking cube who solved mysteries. Sound familiar? The structure was essentially Scooby-Doo with a gimmick. Instead of a dog, you had a cube with googly eyes and squeaky voice. Instead of haunted houses, the kids solved low-stakes adventures that always ended with Rubik spinning to save the day. Behind the scenes, networks were desperate to cash in on toy fads. Insiders claimed the concept was rushed into production with little thought for sustainability, just an excuse to push Rubik merchandise onto Saturday mornings. Critics were merciless, mocking the thin plots and cringeworthy cube character. Parents wrote in, complaining that it felt like a 30-minute commercial. The show was canceled after a single season, never achieving the staying power of other toy-based cartoons like Transformers or He-Man. Today, Rubik exists only as a bizarre footnote, a reminder of when studios shamelessly turned a puzzle craze into a Scooby-style ripoff nobody asked for. Gilligan's Planet, 1982. As if one animated Gilligan's Island wasn't enough, Hanna-Barbera doubled down with Gilligan's Planet. The premise? Shipwrecked castaways are now stranded in space. It was an almost comical copy of their own copy. The same bumbling Gilligan, the same exasperated skipper, only now dealing with robots and aliens instead of coconuts and huts. The formula: Gilligan messes up, group suffers, accidental chaos ensues, remained intact just with outer space wallpaper. Critics immediately recognized it as a desperate attempt to recycle an already recycled property. Behind the scenes, Hanna-Barbera executives reportedly pitched the show as Scooby-Doo meets Star Wars, hoping to catch the sci-fi boom. Animators confessed that much of the art and gag timing was lifted wholesale from earlier cartoons. The reception was dismal. Kids didn't buy into it, adults rolled their eyes, and the show sank after one season. Unlike Scooby or even the original Gilligan's Island, Gilligan's Planet has no cult following, just occasional ridicule from animation historians. Its short life proved that you can only reskin the same formula so many times before the public tunes out completely. The Littles, 1983. When The Littles debuted on ABC, many immediately noticed it looked suspiciously like a softer version of the Smurfs mixed with the Borrowers. The show followed a family of tiny, mouse-like humans with tails who lived inside the walls of ordinary houses, sneaking around and helping kids while staying hidden from adults. The similarities to the Smurfs were hard to ignore: miniature characters with quirky personalities, whimsical adventures, and a constant theme of secrecy. Critics said the show was simply Smurfs indoors. Hanna-Barbera wasn't behind this one, but DIC Entertainment seemed eager to cash in on the small creatures living secretly among us trend. Behind the scenes, ABC executives reportedly demanded the show mimic the Smurfs' success formula: a big cast, lots of slapstick, and a moral of the week ending. Writers complained about tight deadlines, and animators reused stock backgrounds. While kids found it charming, it lacked the world-building depth that made the Smurfs endure. Despite mixed reviews, The Littles lasted 3 seasons, boosted by merchandise and overseas syndication. Today, it's fondly remembered by some fans, but history often labels it a derivative series that never escaped the shadow of its more famous blue cousins. Its legacy? Proof that even with heart, being almost Smurfs means you'll always live in someone else's shadow. Shirt Tales, 1982. Shirt Tales started as a Hallmark greeting card line, but when Hanna-Barbera brought it to TV, audiences couldn't help but see it as a knockoff of the Get Along Gang and Care Bears. The premise? A group of adorable animals lived in a park and wore magical shirts that displayed their thoughts. Each episode featured the crew helping kids, teaching lessons, and thwarting cartoonish villains, all elements lifted from other popular, morality-driven animal cartoons of the early 80s. The shirt gimmick wasn't enough to mask the fact it felt eerily like the Care Bears and Get Along Gang stitched together. Behind the scenes, Hanna-Barbera rushed production after seeing Hallmark's cards sell well. Insiders revealed writers often clashed with network censors who demanded even simpler plots, fearing children would lose interest. Critics derided it as formulaic, noting that even the voice cast felt recycled from other Hanna-Barbera projects. Though the show survived 2 seasons and spawned a short-lived toy line, it disappeared quickly once the Care Bears phenomenon truly exploded. Clue Club, 1976. If you ever thought Scooby-Doo had too many clones, Clue Club might be the most obvious of them all. Produced by Hanna-Barbera, it followed a team of teenage detectives, Larry, Pepper, Dee Dee, and Dottie, solving mysteries with the help of 2 talking dogs. Sound familiar? That's because it's practically Scooby-Doo with the serial numbers filed off. The dogs, Woofer and Whimper, were clear stand-ins for Scooby, with one cowardly and the other sarcastic. Each episode unfolded in the same pattern: discovery, investigation, chase sequence, and final reveal. Behind the scenes, Hanna-Barbera executives allegedly mandated the series as part of their mystery-solving teens production line, which also gave us Josie and the Pussycats, Speed Buggy, and Captain Caveman. Animators reused character designs and even recycled music cues. The audience reception was lukewarm. While kids enjoyed the formula, critics slammed the lack of originality. After just 16 episodes, the show vanished into syndication. Unlike Scooby-Doo, Clue Club left no real legacy, just another entry in Hanna-Barbera's long list of self-imposed copycats. It stands as a textbook case of how far studios were willing to push the Scooby formula, even if audiences had already seen it a dozen times before. Beverly Hills Teens, 1987. When Beverly Hills Teens premiered, many pointed out that it looked like an animated parody of Dynasty and Beverly Hills 90210, except it wasn't meant to be parody. The show followed rich teenagers flaunting fashion, cars, and endless drama in a soap opera style. It arrived right as Jem and the Holograms was dominating with its glitzy mix of music and fashion, and critics quickly labeled Beverly Hills Teens a ripoff. The characters were shallow archetypes: the spoiled diva, the handsome rival, the brainy underdog, mirroring the tropes of live-action teen dramas, but with none of their charm. Behind the scenes, DIC Entertainment pushed the show primarily as a vehicle for toy tie-ins and fashion merchandising. Animators revealed the production cycle was rushed, with recycled storylines and dialogue that often bordered on self-parody. The voice acting, while energetic, couldn't elevate the thin scripts. Although it ran for 65 syndicated episodes, the show faded from memory almost instantly. Unlike Jem, it never built a cult following, and reruns were scarce. Today, it's remembered only as a flashy, empty knockoff of better teen-focused shows. Its legacy? Proof that glamour without substance rarely lasts. Wild West C.O.W. Boys of Moo Mesa, 1992. In the early 90s, the cartoon landscape was overrun with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles clones. Every studio wanted their own team of anthropomorphic heroes. Enter Wild West C.O.W. Boys of Moo Mesa, a show about mutant cowboy cows fighting crime in a frontier town. The concept was almost too on the nose. Cows mutated by a comet's radiation, now forming a heroic posse. It had the same structure as TMNT, team personalities, over-the-top villains, and toy-friendly designs. Critics immediately called it a shameless attempt to replicate the Turtles formula with a cowboy twist. Behind the scenes, animators admitted the studio pitched it directly as Ninja Turtles in the Old West. Merchandising deals rolled out quickly, from action figures to lunchboxes. But kids noticed the lack of originality. Ratings stumbled and toy sales underperformed. Although the show lasted 2 seasons, it never gained a real cult following. Instead, it became a textbook example of the 90s mutant animal craze when networks scrambled to cash in on Turtle Mania. Its legacy? Proof that lightning rarely strikes twice, and that slapping a cowboy hat on turtles doesn't make magic happen. Biker Mice from Mars, 1993. If you thought Wild West C.O.W. Boys was blatant, biker mice from Mars doubled down. Another Ninja Turtles imitator, it featured 3 anthropomorphic mice, Throttle, Moto, and Vinny, who rode motorcycles, fought evil aliens, and spouted catchphrases. The parallels to TMNT were undeniable, a quirky team dynamic, an urban setting, and villains bent on world domination. The twist was their biker identity, but even that felt like an edgy repaint of the Turtles' streetwise charm. Behind the scenes, toy companies had their fingerprints all over production. The show was developed alongside a toy line, hoping to grab market share from Playmate's TMNT figures. Writers revealed scripts were often rewritten to highlight specific toys or vehicles. Critics were quick to note the derivative nature, but kids, fueled by 90s attitude and flashy motorcycles, tuned in anyway. The show lasted 3 seasons, longer than most TMNT clones. It even had a brief revival in the 2000s. Still, history places it firmly in the wannabe Turtles category, remembered more for its shameless mimicry than innovation. Its story reflects how copycats can survive briefly, but rarely achieve immortality. Street Sharks, 1994. By 1994, the radical mutant hero trend had gone completely off the rails. Street Sharks was the boldest imitator of them all. Instead of turtles, it gave kids 4 brothers, mutated into humanoid sharks who fought crime with their jawsome powers. The formula was copy-paste, a team of mutants, unique personalities, human allies, and a toy-driven storyline. Their nemesis, Dr. Paranoid, was essentially a reskinned Shredder. Even the catchphrases felt designed to echo the Turtles' lingo. Behind the scenes, Mattel drove the series with one goal: sell toys. Animators admitted the action sequences were tailored around toy gimmicks, from chomping jaws to transforming vehicles. Critics dismissed it as a shameless TMNT clone, but oddly enough, it worked for a while. Kids loved the outlandish shark designs, and the toy line sold briskly in its first years. Still, without real storytelling depth, the show quickly burned out. After 3 seasons, it vanished, leaving behind only nostalgia and memes. Today, Street Sharks is remembered with both mockery and affection, a symbol of how absurd the TMNT copycat craze became. Battletoads, 1992. Topping the list is Battletoads, the most notorious Ninja Turtles imitator of all. Originally a video game designed to rival TMNT's popularity, it soon spawned a short-lived cartoon. The premise: 3 teens transformed into anthropomorphic toads, Rash, Zitz, and Pimple, fighting evil aliens in a mix of sci-fi and slapstick. From the team's wisecracking personalities to their mutant origins, the similarities to TMNT were glaring. The cartoon tried to replicate the Turtles' balance of humor and action, but leaned too heavily into chaotic gags. Viewers quickly labeled it an inferior clone. Behind the scenes, the show was greenlit only after the video game gained notoriety. Toy makers pushed hard, but unlike TMNT, Battletoads lacked mass appeal. The cartoon aired only once as a pilot, then disappeared. Despite its failure, Battletoads achieved cult status thanks to the infamously difficult video game. Fans still joke about it today, but the cartoon remains a forgotten experiment. Its short, awkward life proves the ultimate lesson. Even with marketing muscle, copying brilliance without adding heart leads only to obscurity. Cartoons that rip off bigger hits remind us of a simple truth. Imitation may spark curiosity, but only originality endures. From mutant turtles to cowboy cows, many tried to ride the wave, but few survived. Which of these copycats did you grow up watching? Drop your memories in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more hidden histories of animation.